Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by cardsphere.com as well as moxfield.com, and we'll take a look at them later on in this video. Now, I've got a double sponsorship day, which means I can definitely afford to lose some play points testing something that is either really good or really terrible, and I'm not sure which it is. So Minsc Boo is starting to make some serious waves in Legacy and might be on the short list of some of the most powerful planeswalkers ever printed. It presents a recurring threat that very aggressively closes the game while also serving as removal and card draw. And for a planeswalker, that is a lot. And we are going to use our soul lands as well as a whopping 8 spirit guides to power out Minsc Boo, as well as Caves of Chaos Adventurer, which takes the initiative. For those of you following the Pauper format, most of the initiative cards got banned in Pauper for kind of being too broken for that environment. Let's take a quick look at what the initiative does. The initiative, when you take it, allows you to venture into the Undercity, which is this kind of special dungeon. And when you first enter it, you get a basic land card to your hand. But on subsequent turns, if you still have the initiative, or if you take the initiative again, you can continue through this dungeon. And notably, the second step here, Forge, allows you to put 2 +1/+1 counters on a target creature. So, this is a 5/3 creature. Pretty good. If it survives a turn to the point where it can actually attack, it is a 7/5 creature, which for something that you might play on turn 1 in this deck is pretty darn good. Now, this does have more text. This also has trample, and when this thing attacks, exile the top card of your library. If you've completed a dungeon, you may play that card this turn without paying its mana cost. Now, are we actually going to complete a dungeon before our opponent is dead? Hopefully not. Hopefully our opponent just dies to the first Minsc Boo or Caves of Chaos Adventurer that we play. But if the game does go long, there is extra added value on this card. Rounding out the deck list, we have some of the traditional hate pieces like Chalice of the Void, Chronosphere, and Blood Moon that you would expect to see in these decks, as well as Fable of the Mirror Breaker as a way to loot through some of these bad cards, and Fury as an absolutely premium target for it to copy. The sideboard of this deck does actually round out the playset of Fury because that card is so good in the matchups where it is good. Otherwise, we're very focused on solving specific problems with Leyline of the Void for the graveyard decks, Magus of the Moon for maybe your Urza Saga decks or your blue decks with greedy mana bases, because spoilers, all those decks that used to be, maybe like Bant are now splashing red for Minsc Boo as well, which means they have room for fewer basic lands, and we can beat down on those. While this deck does not have City of Traders that many of these mono-red decks have, it does have the full 8 Spirit Guides as well as Chrome Mox, so we can play a Blood Moon effect very quickly. There's one thing that makes me nervous about this deck list, and I'm not going to make any changes before I play it because I might be wrong, but this deck has 1, 2, 3 fetchable lands, which seems like absolute nonsense to me. That doesn't seem like enough. But maybe between Blood Moon turning them into mountains and how quickly we expect these games to be over, it's not actually a problem. But that's the number one thing that I have my eye on with this deck list is that actually good? Should I trim a Grove for another Taiga or another basic land of some kind? This is priority number 1 for me is figuring out the answer to that question during this league. All right, let's go ahead and hop into the matches here. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you like what you see today. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. If you have a deck that you want to see on the channel, please consider doing a donation deck list to make that happen and expose your wonderful deck list to the world. All right, let's battle. Okay, I think my hand is a mulligan here. I have 3 mana on turn 1, but I can't get to my primary threat immediately. And if I use a Spirit Guide to play Chalice of the Void, I don't get to this easily. So I think that one goes back. This hand is much better. I am going to be keeping it. I think I have to keep all of my lands, because there's a lot of worlds where I Blood Moon on turn 2. And I need this to get Forest. If that happens, that means I throw back one of these two. I think it's the Minsc Boo, in case there's a world where this gets Basic Mountain instead. But I am not 100% sure there. Alright, we are playing against Delver. And they have an aggressive start. I will be leading on Chalice on turn 1, probably into an immediate Blood Moon on turn 2, and work towards this more slowly. Counter spell into Wasteland is going to be the thing that beats me with how I have chosen to play out this hand. Okay, there's the first half of the equation. So this gets countered. And now hopefully I don't get Wastelanded. Okay, cool. Dodged that bullet. So I'm happy enough taking 1 here. That is interesting. I don't think I'm in love with playing this just directly into Lightning Bolt. When I play this, I can get basic Forest. I think I'm into just Blood Mooning my opponent this turn. And this is going to be a Blood Moon that can occur around a daze, which is nice. My opponent kept on top whatever it was that they looked at with Dragon Rage Channeler. Alright, are we resolving? There's a Force of Will, so I do not get to fight back with that with Simian Spirit Guide, unfortunately. And we may just see Delver do Delver things here with my opponent putting a Murktide Regent into play this turn, and then I just lose to it. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Down to 14. Okay, we are on a Rug build. Drawing a Fury would be pretty gas. Oh, it's so bad if I play Caves of Chaos Adventurer and my opponent has Lightning Bolt. It's also not particularly great for me if they have flipped Delver. Might need to just play Fable this turn. My life total's in jeopardy. Love to draw a Fury. Punishing Fire is an okay draw as well. Alright, I think I'm going to play Grove this turn. And go ahead and play the Fable. I think the Caves of Chaos Adventurer is just too risky right now in the face of Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt just directly going at my face is also pretty bad. Okay. There's an EI. So that'll be the 3rd type into the graveyard. So my opponent will have instant sorcery land. Alright, Misty Rainforest in exile that my opponent can play. And they will. And let's see if... Okay, I'm not eating an immediate removal spell. Mystic Sanctuary into graveyard. So the Dragon Rage Channeler has not, air quotes, flipped, which is good news for me. I get a little bit of a reprieve this turn. Alright, I will use this ability. Loot away the mana here. I'm already playing around a daze. Possible looting away the land is better, but I don't think I need these here. Oh shit, that's a Fury. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively fetch. I'll grab the Forest, I think. I'm going to use Caves of Chaos Adventurer as my bait spell here. And see if that resolves. It does resolve. Fantastic. Alright, so now I get to venture in the dungeon. I get a basic land here, which means I get to grab that basic mountain. There it is. And I'm going to go ahead and just exile cast this Fury and take out both of these creatures. Fantastic. Alright, that's a pretty big win. Now, something like an Uro can still happen, and it's not particularly good for me. But assuming that doesn't happen, I'm in a very good spot here, because I can copy Caves of Chaos Adventurer, and that will be, like, extremely aggressive. I'm glad I played out Fable to, like, dig towards this Fury. Wasteland is fine. Okay, yeah, there is the Uro. So that's going to put my opponent up to 19. Ooh. Lightning Bolt's good. So now this triggers again. I will go to the Forge. And put my +1/+1 counters on this. Oh, holy shit. What a draw. Okay. So, land drop. Red, green, 1. to Minsc Boo. As resolved, I will use that ability. We'll go ahead and plus on Boo. This is 8 damage. That also makes me a treasure. Pretty legit. So I get to go to trap in the next room, which puts my drains my opponent for 5 life, which is really strong. Okay, yep, that's fine. So my opponent will go up to 14 here. Yeah, sure, that's another land drop. All right, so I continue going. So we will go to trap. That will drain my opponent for 5, bringing them to 9. Not want to use this ability. There's a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. I can immediately use that to draw a card if I need to. I don't really think that I need to. Although, I have a nice line involving playing this where I attack with a hasty one. Fantastic. Alright, I will draw a card. Alright, Chromox doesn't do anything right now. Reflection of Kiki Jiki on a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Alright, I have a hasty version. I now get to do the whole initiative thing again, which is very good. I will put a creature onto the battlefield with some counters. I will now go ahead, put some counters on the Boo, and crash in for a very, very large amount of damage. Alright, I have now completed a dungeon, so I can cast that Trinisphere later on in this turn. Alright, good stuff. Alright, a Brazen Borrower Petty Theft occurs. That's fine. I lose out on a little bit here. I have multiple blockers for if my opponent does something. I can play this Trinisphere if I want. Need a 7 life. Probably worth doing so that my... oh, it's without paying its cost. That's broke. Forgot about that part. Alright. Fantastic. Alright, that Uro crashes in. There's another land drop from my opponent. I think I'm into a chump block, so I don't randomly die to a lightning bolt. I don't think I want to double block here. It makes the lightning bolt blowout worse than it already is going to be. Just preserves my life total. And my opponent could lightning bolt this, and I still at least theoretically have lethal. The second Uro is really good. My opponent can gain 6 life, going to 12. That's pretty good. Yep. My opponent doesn't have too many more mana sources in their deck, I don't imagine. Might be another Volcanic Island or two that they could potentially hit for some blowouts. Alright, they're at 12. Alright, Undercity does its thing. I have no basic land. I do a Minsc Boo token. Fantastic. Get my land drop. Copy the Adventurer, which puts me further into the dungeon. We'll go to the Forge, put the +1/+1 counters on the original here. Actually, that was probably wrong. I could have used Minsc Boo differently. Yeah, that was wrong. Yeah, I should have put the counters here and then flung that at Uro in all likelihood. I guess I can attack with all of these as is. If this one gets blocked, my opponent takes 6. I fling for 11, that doesn't kill. Alright, let's just turn this one into a death machine then. Going with both of these, leaving this back in case I don't hit another creature. Alright, there's a land, there's another land. Alright, opponent goes to 2. Could have gotten rid of this Uro. I can't actually play those. Call that a turn. Yeah, there's worlds where I can die for messing that up. But this creature, like, never dies. Okay, there's a 3-mana Ponder. Yeah, this creature just, like, cannot die to removal anymore, which is very good. Alright, so the Uro attack puts my opponent to 5. I'll throw this in front of the bus, and I'll just get it right back. Fine. Now my... okay, yeah, that's A-okay with me. I didn't play that game very well. I'm, like, very much getting used to this deck. Like, despite being, like, very much in my wheelhouse, I am getting used to both the initiative and, like, this whole, like, Caves of Chaos copy with Kiki Jiki thing. Okay, what is the game plan for this deck? Like, how do I want to approach this? The removal spells are probably good. But I just, like, don't instinctively know what the removal plan is. I don't really like Trinisphere. Like, I am probably going to be using my mana on stuff like this instead. Not. I probably am supposed to play Leyline over Trinisphere, and then I am probably supposed to play some number of these other removal spells, and I'm not familiar enough with the matchup to know how many. I'm also not familiar enough with this deck list to know how aggressively I can remove Blood Moons. I only have so many physical lands, which has me nervous. I think I'm going to cut 2 Blood Moons for 2 Furies and keep Chalice of the Void. The Punishing Fires are weird. They're, like, very good against some of my opponent's deck and very bad versus other parts. Like, Delver and Dragon Rage Channeler can be picked off by these, which is nice. But, like, a Murktide Regent, a Tarmogoyf, or an Uro just completely ignores it, and, like, that might make me want to have some dead Gauns. Just, like, Gone gets Murktide out of the way. I'm gonna get rid of all of the moons. I don't know if that's correct. My hand is going to be a keep. I am unsure exactly how I'll play it. I'm probably playing Fable of the Mirrorbreaker on turn 1 around days. But it's possible I change my mind and do something else. Alright, good. My opponent didn't have the deck's best start, which is Dragon Rage Channeler. No shuffle on Ponder. Okay, I've got a removal spell. Similar to last game, like a Daze into a Wasteland is particularly bad for me. Alright, or, you know, Force of Will into Wasteland. That all works the same way. Yep. Alright, this is what game 3 is for. Delver's fine. I will attempt to dead that. I think off a basic. Let's do this whole Prismatic Vista thing. And cast Dead on the Delver. There's a world where I'm supposed to use the Simian Spirit Guide to actually Punishing Fire that, so that I can bounce a Murktide Regent if one is played. But that pretty much destroys my prospects of actually playing Minsc anytime in the... Ooh, opponent is stuck on land here. Yeah, I'm happy to see that. Hopefully I get a land of my own next turn. That's unfortunate. There are 4 card types in Graveyard there. Okay, there's a land. I am happy enough to do this here. So these are all 3 of my fetchable lands, by the way. Which is something I was very worried about from the get-go. Fuck, a second Force of Will is pretty bad for me. Possible I was supposed to Fury Pitch Punishing Fire first. Try and prevent that from being countered. I have to draw, like, exactly Ancient Tomb to put this into play next turn. I think I do not want my opponent to have access to more manipulation with this, so I think I'm willing to lose the 2 cards here and just hope that I top deck better than my opponent does. We'll see how that goes. Alright. We're gonna stare at each other. So I know they don't have, like, Delver or Dragon Rage Channeler. So they probably have counter spells or removal that they can't currently cast or don't want to currently cast more accurately. See if my Chalice sticks. Alright, Lightning Bolt is fine. Now, notably, if I draw one of my fetch lands, it's not actually live to produce mana. The Fury, we're chillin'. So my opponent has very good potential top decks. I do as well, but I am waiting on mana here. So my opponent's Wastelands are very good. Expressive Iteration is very good. Brazen Borrower is very good. Alright, fantastic. I'm not sure which one of these I am supposed to play first. I think I'm going to play Caves of Chaos Adventurer first, because this one just gets countered by Force of Negation, and the other one doesn't. Alright, this whole thing... Okay, yeah, my opponent has conceded. GG's. This deck is powerful, but a little awkward. Today's video is sponsored by Cardsphere.com. Cardsphere is a service that allows you to buy, sell, and most importantly, trade your Magic cards with other people and game stores from around the world. As you can see here, they are doing a lot of business. They only take a very small fee, 3%, and if you decide you want cash instead of cards, you can also get paid out via PayPal for a small cut. P.S. They also have articles, so please consider checking them out. Alright, round 2. I have a Chalice of the Void on turn 1 and a turn 3 Minsc Boo while also having removal. While this isn't necessarily as turbo as this deck is capable of doing, keep in mind that I have 8 Spirit Guides that I can draw to that make it so that I can play Minsc Boo on turn 2 with a lot of the format's removal spells being turned off. Alright. Here we go. There's the old Chalice on 1. It has resolved. Again, card I am most afraid of is Wasteland, and I think I'm going to say that like every round. I don't know for sure. Yep, there we go. There's a Wasteland. Alright. So, I have 3 mana in the like very long term. You're potentially playing against a blue-red Delver deck. And I potentially have land into Minsc Boo next turn. Although there are some worlds where I end up waiting. I think, oddly, I need to fetch both of my basic lands to make sure that I don't draw them. And this super low, like, fetchable land count is totally a problem. Especially since Initiative lets you get more copies of lands later. I feel confident in my initial assessment that like, it's sketch to be this low on lands, on fetchables. I think I'm just going to play the Trinisphere this turn, rather than just jam the Minsc Boo. Gonna make sure I clicked on the right card there. I had kind of a weird bit of lag. If this Trinisphere resolves, it means that my Minsc Boo resolves pretty much 100% of the time next turn. Okay. Basic Forest, huh? Playing against, like, a Bant control deck. We are. This can be a prismatic ending on Trinisphere. Oh, it's an Uro. Yeah, I don't care about that right now. I might care about that in the future, but in the short term, that does nothing. Opponent also fetched a basic Plains, meaning that it's harder for them to bring back the Uro quickly. So, this is gonna hurt. You get 3 counters on my hamster. I bash in for 4. It'll be 4, then it'll be 7. And my opponent missed their other land drop. Yeah, sure, another Uro is fine. Okay, they found a land drop this time. Don't know how much that really matters, though. Again, that one doesn't contribute to Uro. So we're seeing some, like, mana base greed definitely be relevant. Alright, land drop. Plus on the Boo. I think I just play the Fury. Just, like, it's uncounterable right now. 1, 2, 3. I have to give my opponent 1 life. I think I just do this. Don't need to do damage to anything. 7. Opponent goes to 14. Boo kills my opponent next turn. I can just, like, plus and then fling it. Would you like to use some time to cast a Life from the Loam? That is a concession. Quite early. Well, okay, I mean, it's turn 6, but, you know, once I resolved Chalice into Trinisphere into Boo, that game was over. Okay, I have to decide how I want to play this one out. I kind of like Blood Moons here, because my opponent is trying to resolve an Uro as, like, one of the primary ways to beat me. So a very easy way to stop them from doing that is, like, couple Leyline of the Void with some number of moon effects, so that, like, I'm attacking the graveyard so Uro can't come back, and I'm attacking green, green, blue, blue very specifically. It also has the side effect of shutting off, like, the Field of the Dead type cards. I'm not even sure that I like Chalice of the Void versus this opponent. Like, so many of the cards that I'm going to care about have variable costs, like 3 mana Planeswalkers, 3 mana Uros, X cost prismatic endings. Yeah, maybe Chalice is worse than Trinisphere. Or very possibly, like, I play some number of either Magus of the Moon, Fiery Confluence to round out the deck. It also could be that, like, just playing 8 moon effects restricts my opponent's mana enough that they can't meaningfully do things. I could see that. I'm not really sure how to play this matchup. Like, the initiative is a very warping mechanic. And so, like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to just, like, lean into making that resolve since my opponent's bad at taking the initiative back, or if I'm supposed to attack them on other fronts, and after I've attacked them, the initiative just cleans up. I don't have the reps here to know for sure. I'm going to keep a couple of Furies, just as something that's really good to copy with Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This is a pretty medium-looking hand. I think I'm going to ship this one. It doesn't do anything super quickly. Like, it does a turn 2 Moon, but, like, that means my opponent gets to fetch twice, and it's hard for me to deploy the good card in my hand. Let's ship that one. This hand is, I think, a keep. It has mana, and I just hope to top deck another threat to make this hand better. Alright, that is the land that I did not want my opponent to play on turn 1. But that's okay. Alright, Ancient Tomb. Romox. I think I'm supposed to imprint Punishing Fire here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and play the Magus on turn 1 rather than the Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Because in the worlds where they don't have Swords to Plowshares, this is pretty damn good. In the worlds where they do have Swords to Plowshares, this is awkward. But, like, the earlier Magus comes down, the higher an impact it has. Oh shit, that got a Force of Will. Fantastic. This means that I still have my Caves of Chaos Adventurer for next turn. And my opponent, yeah, I still have this card. Oh fuck, I don't have this card. That's a very all-in, like, very aggressive line. Okay. Leyline is not a card that I am excited about currently. There's a Chrome Mox on the bottom of my deck, so it's pretty unlikely that I'll be able to do the whole imprint shenanigans. Oh wow, my opponent kept a very interesting hand. Alright. Let's attempt to resolve this card. Another Force of Will would be backbreaking. Why do I talk? Okay. I don't think there's any worlds where you keep that hand, by the way. Like, you do not have blue mana to cantrip. Like, despite the fact that my opponent has more cards in hand, I think I'm incredibly favored here. Alright, I can draw all the Leyline of the Voids in my deck in a row, and then, like, maybe my opponent doesn't get punished for their mulligan. Or lack thereof, rather. Okay, they found a land. It does produce blue mana, which is a pain. Alright. That is 3 uncastables in a row, unfortunately. See what my opponent can do. I'm pretty soft to, like, Life from the Loam Wasteland currently. Alright. Why would you main phase that Brainstorm like that? I don't think you're in a rush here. Like, if you Brainstorm lock yourself, it's so bad. Okay. You can get paid off like that, too. That's frustrating. But it is what it is. Let's just top deck an Ancient Tomb. Alright. They've opted to play Boseiju rather than hold it, notably. I do not need to put Chrome Mox Leyline of the Void this turn since I'm not actually casting anything. An Endurance. Sure. It is not a problem currently. It puts more lands back in my deck for if I do shuffle, which I can do because of the initiative searching. Brainstorm's fine. Alright, I'll take 3 from an Endurance attack. I'm still at a very healthy 13. Like, this is not a problem. Okay, there's Chrome Mox. We'll awkwardly imprint a Leyline. And use this for colorless just fine. As the 3rd Force of Will of the game. And that is what it is. Ponder away. That's no shuffle. There's Prismatic Ending my mana sources. Sure. Punishing Fire, not particularly good right now. Alright, Uro's very good. I think my opponent's level of avarice was absolutely insane in keeping a 1 white mana opener. Like, it's going to work out, because, like, my deck bottomed out on me, and I drew, like, multiple ley lines in a row. and then a removal spell that doesn't kill my opponent's creature. But, like, if they did not have all 3 of those Force of Wills, there's no world in which they beat any one of my resolved cards. And, like, it is what it is. That's annoying. I'm not going to Punishing Fire it, though. Alright, they're just going to plus. I will take 3. And once I'm at 1, I don't think I have any outs with an onboard to Fairy, so I'm going to go ahead and concede here. That is extremely frustrating. Given how this player played, I probably want Trinispheres against them. I think I'm going to go my Punishing Fires out for some number of Trinispheres. I didn't see any Icefang Coatl type cards in 2 games. The Punishing Fires are kind of nice for picking off Planeswalkers that have like minus or whatever, but it's fine. In the game where I'm on the play, I might not want Leylines. I might be just trying to kill my opponent before Leyline becomes, like, before Uro becomes relevant. And resolving one of, like, Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon, Trinisphere probably does that. If I don't want to play Leylines when I'm on the play, I can play, like, 2 Fury and a Fiery Confluence to just point at my opponent's dome. Or alternatively play, like, 1 Dead Gone to bounce an Uro or Endurance or whatever. I think I'm going to go with a Fiery Confluence. Not sure about this, though. I don't think I'm interested in Chalice. This is a keep, and I have to figure out how to play it. Probably Chrome Mox, Imprint, Spirit Guide, fetch Fable on turn 1, but it might be Magus instead. Let's start with seeing if the Chrome Mox resolves. It does. Spirit Guide goes under it. I think I fetch the basic forest. And let's attempt ye old turn 1 win. It probably gets forced, and then I play Fable afterwards. Yeah, that's fine. As my way of bridging to mana. It becomes annoying if they Prismatic Ending Chrome Mox after having Force of Will. I think I'm good in most other worlds. I'm forced to fetch Taiga here, I think, because of how long I expect this game to go. I don't think I get to take the basic out of the deck here. Alright. My card did resolve, which is fantastic for me. Alright. No end of turn source to Plowshares for the creature, which is nice. See if they have anything to do on their turn. Alright, they're just brainstorming. That's fine. Now I just basically need the top of my deck to deliver, and with the middle mode of Fable of the Mirror being looting, I can probably count on that happening. Alright, am I losing the token? I'm losing the token. That's fine. I am into discarding both of these cards. I can do better than this on average. I would call that better on average. Like, this is not what I want with my opponent already having 2 lands in play, but this stops future fetch lands, and I think my opponent has to respect that, as they just did. But my opponent has done an exceptional job of having the force effects at the correct time, which has been frustrating. Also frustrating is the fact that, like, I have that singular basic in my deck, or, like, the singular basic for each color. Alright. Fairy? Yeah, that's fine. That probably bounces my Reflection of Kiki Jiki, which is, like, a very awkward thing to do. They're bouncing my Chrome Mox. Sure. I'll kill the Teferi. I do not like how my opponent has played out these games. Like, I feel like their deck is built to go long, and they're taking all of these extremely, like, short-sighted plays involving, like, taking out my mana. I'm fine attacking into a potential Icefang Coatl, I think. Like, I'm okay with the trade. I just don't really feel like my opponent has anything. Just gut feeling. So that's fine. Alright, so now I just need to draw another piece of gas. And I will continue to crash into potential Icefang Coatls. If the Reflection of Kiki Jiki dies so that another creature doesn't later, that's okay with me. Are you an enchantment on the backside? You are an enchantment on the backside. Well, that's annoying. Alright, I get in for 2 damage. Put my opponent to 11. I'm fine casting a Spirit Guide here as a 2/2. And then I lose 2 cards to Serenity. My opponent's cantrips like have been improved a lot, and a top deck like Uro would be kind of devastating at this point. Also annoying is the fact that like I now have to respect mid-combat endurance in a way that I didn't a second ago. I think I'm okay throwing away the card if it happens. Like, because in the worlds where they don't have it, I need to force the damage. I don't think I make a land drop this turn. Right, because this fetches basic mountain, and then I don't have another fetchable in my deck. Okay. Little wild to wait on that. I kind of feel like you need to take the, like, ability to save points of life where you can. Okay. Are you doing the bounce? You are doing the bounce. I'm not really sure if that's correct. I'm not gonna fetch to thin. I want to leave that land in my deck, I think. Alright, I've bottomed out with, I think that's 4 mana sources in a row. I need to resolve another relevant card here before this Uro just buries me. Yep, that's fine. This Uro attacking me for 6 is the thing that beats me, though, and my opponent is not doing that. Like, opponent presumably has enough basics to be able to play Uro through a moon effect. So, alright, Fable's very good. Do I want to fetch the basic out and not give my opponent a life? I don't think so. I don't think the point of life is super relevant right now. I'm gonna go ahead and just play the Fable. Very good to allow me to loot away the like lands and Chrome Mox. Anything that lets me get Endurance out of the way is very strong. Seeing some end of turn movement. That's fine. This is just going to be getting the basics of the appropriate color. Alright, it's Uro again. And my opponent is farming life and cards, but not actually doing anything that actually beats me. Okay, so now they've shifted. They've tapped in a way that doesn't let them bring back Uro. Okay, Life from the Loam is kind of whatever. Wasteland is kind of whatever, like with the amount of mana that I have here. That's fine. So my opponent has used 2 force effects already. It's very possible that they... Oh my god. It's very possible that they have another. I'll use this ability, looting away 1 Vista, 1 Chrome Mox. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this turn. 7 with a Goblin Shaman attack. Is this a post-combat Minsc Boo? Turn's really hard. I think I play all of my cards post-combat. Yeah, I think I play all of my cards post-combat. Doesn't use the Minsc Boo as efficiently as is humanly possible. Yeah, that's fine. It allows me to make some more interesting plays. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 for the Magus of the Moon. And this importantly shuts off Caracas from bouncing my shit. Yeah. And it allows this fetch land to tap for mana. Which is something that I need. Alright. That's annoying. Okay. That is what it is. Although, that is what it is. I don't even think the Minsc Boo is very good, like, in the face of my opponent's Caracas there. Like, I was going to minus the Minsc and kill off Endurance. And then, like, the Minsc Boo basically never does anything again, because, like, the Caracas just checks it. Yeah, I will reiterate that I do not like how my opponent has played this league, or this match. Like, it's working because I'm bottoming out on cards. This Minsc, like, look at how bad this Minsc Boo is, right? So, like, I play it, my opponent pluses on the hamster, or my opponent Caracas is on the hamster, and I get to do basically nothing with this card. I could not play it. I don't think I'm winning without drawing something good to copy with Reflection of Kiki Jiki. So I think I'll play it. Are you going to counter this? Wow. This card was so fucking bad. Okay. Like, the reflection of Kiki-Jiki that's in play is so much scarier than the Minsc Boo. Because, like, in the world where I, like, play a Caves of Chaos Adventurer and then, like, copy a reflection of Kiki-Jiki, I instantly have a creature that, like, threatens to outclass Uro and actually, like, hold the ground effectively. But okay. Okay, sure. Land drop's fine. I think I'm just going to take all the damage here so that if I don't have anything else to do, I can just copy a Simian Spirit Guide that can block Uro in the future. Okay, sure. Alright, so we're going to loan back the Wasteland. That's fine. That's fine. The follow-up play, another Serenity. Okay. The opponent just has my fucking number here. I guess I'll concede. That one was outside of my control. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website for Magic the Gathering, and they have a ton of functionality just beyond building decks. So for example, let's say you're making a whole bunch of changes to your deck list while you're at work and you want to goldfish your deck over your lunch hour, you can do so via Moxfield. You can tap your lands, you can play your cards, draw, even view your entire library if you need to. So please consider checking out this website. They support my content. Okay, I'll be keeping my hand here. It allows me to play a turn 1 Chalice of the Void, turn 2 Minsc. It is pretty cool. Again, and I think I'm going to say this every round, I am very afraid of Wasteland. Alright, I'm probably not going to get Wastelanded after seeing Prismatic Vista. So that is at least nice. We've got that going for us. And hopefully, like, this baits a counterspell so that, like, Minsc Boo can actually resolve. It's scarier for me when, like, Chalice just resolves and my opponent just, like, Prismatic Endings it away and then can save the counterspell for, like, the card in my hand that actually matters and is hard to deal with. Yeah, so we're probably going to see the exact situation that I just described. Okay, yeah, there's the white land. Okay, it's Tundra. And there's the Prismatic Ending. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Is that my play here? Or is Minsc Boo my play? Minsc Boo eats Force of Negation, whereas Caves of Chaos Adventurer is much worse versus Swords to Plowshares. I get to do the other one next turn. Either way, I think I grab Taiga right here. I think I'm going to go ahead and play the Minsc Boo this turn. Force of Negation would be inconvenient, yep. But, like, I don't want this thing to just immediately eat Swords to Plowshares and for it to be incredibly awkward for me. Punishing Fire is very strong right here, especially since my opponent fetched a card that is, like, basically unplayable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana this turn. So this will be good old Punishing Fire. And in case my opponent is an Esper build with discard, I'm not going to return Punishing Fire yet. I'm going to pop out this Caldra so I don't forget my opponent has it. The game should be over far before that matters. Alright, cool. So end step, I'll go ahead and return this. And go on with my life. Go sick another one. They're very good in multiples. Alright, there's Caves of Chaos Adventurer. It has resolved. I still have 2 basics in my deck, so it's okay to fetch one here. Grab the basic forest. Call it a turn. I can technically cast Punishing Fire if I need to. Though I don't expect to need to. Oh, my opponent could play like an end of turn Brazen Borrower, though. Or an Icefang Coatl. I think that's worth my Spirit Guide to just kill right now. I don't want my opponent to have the initiative for a moment. Alright, goodbye Spirit Guide, and goodbye Icefang Coatl. Unless my opponent's last card is randomly Spell Pierce. Which it was not. This is now going to be incredibly aggressive. Alright, and I get to Punishing Fire away this Stoneforge Mystic as well. Alright. I will go to the Forge. And put some +1/+1 counters here. Go a Minsc Boo. That's very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 mana this turn. I need 7 to do cool shit. Opponent has 2 unknown cards. They have to be force plus blue card for me to care about what they're doing. I will attempt the Punishing Fire. It has occurred. I will bash in for 7 points of damage. Do I want to play a Simian Spirit Guide for 2 life? Yes, I think this game is close enough to over. That is acceptable. Like, I don't expect my opponent to turn the corner, because, like, I'm about to drain them for 5. And putting an extra creature in play just makes me better versus 1 random Swords to Plowshares or equivalent. Oh, my opponent has a Minsc Boo. That's fine. My opponent's dead if they attack with that. Yeah. I just take that, right? They've played a land this turn. Yeah, they've played a land this turn, so I can take that, go to 4. Then I have 7 plus 5, 12. When I play this, or when I attack. Yeah, I believe they are deterministically dead before making the choice to attack there. So this is fine. Alright, cool, cool, cool. Alright, no point in playing that card. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my own Minsc Boo. It has occurred. Plus, yeah. I think if my opponent wanted to stay in that game, they had to hold this back to block. It doesn't feel good. I think that's the only way they live another turn. Okay, what don't I want versus this opponent? I will probably board out some number of these cards for more removal. Like, my opponent has creatures like Stoneforge Mystic that it's important for me to remove, as well as artifacts. So, like, this stuff becomes pretty appealing. And while, like, Chalice of the Void and Trinisphere look okay, Prismatic Ending makes both of these cards significantly worse. Because, like, my opponent just has answers to stuff. So probably board out all of these on the draw for as many removal spells as I can, and then maybe round things out with, like, 1 Magus of the Moon to fill the slots. I think I'm happy enough with that. I'm not really excited about my opening hand. I don't do anything on turn 1, and I end up doing a lot of pitch cast stuff to make this hand work. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one and try to find something a little more reasonable. That's not this hand. So we'll mulligan again. So this is also not a capable hand. At this point, I'm going to 4, and I'm going all in on my first card that I find. Not super keen on that, but it's happening. So I'm keeping this. This always goes back. This always goes back. I think the Elvish Spirit Guide goes back because I can't use that to cast Blood Moon on turn 1. I didn't have anything else that I could play differently, right? Yeah, no. Oh, this is super awkward. Maybe there's a world where I keep the Fury or the Fiery Confluence so that I'm better at killing an opening creature? Like if Stoneforge just happens on turn 2? Situation is dire. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna do that and keep the Fury in... Oh, fuck, it's 3 cards. Right. My mulligan was very, very, very bad. Okay, so I can't keep the Fury anymore. I have to just keep mana. Alright. Not a fan. I also don't know which land to play on turn 1. Punished. My opponent randomly wastelands me. Like, playing out this Ancient Tomb sucks. I'm not super expecting it, but a lot of these blue decks have, like, used that as a part of their plan. Yeah, there's that Stoneforge that I very much wanted to try to beat. But, like, opponent just naturally had both those lands, so, like, the Blood Moon opener wasn't gonna cut it, basically, any way that I sliced it. Very hard for me to win now. Probably hard enough for me to win this game that I just concede. Like, the Cauldron comes in play, and I just can't really answer that card. I think I'll keep playing, because I can technically find a Gone, and that helps a lot. Aiga, since I have Prismatic Vista in hand, I think. Can't get the basic Forest here, because I need the starting red mana. But, like, I'm going to 4, I'm very much playing from behind here. Like, I'm playing from the behind in terms of tempo because my opponent went first, and in terms of cards. Yeah, like this Blood Moon is not a card that you need to counter by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you just put Cauldron in and kill me in 4 turns. Alright. So this is 5 damage. I go to 12. Actually, it's 3 turns, right? Because Stoneforge Mystic can attack next turn. And that's 6 damage. And I can't play that right now because of my own Blood Moon. I guess, no, this is indestructible too, so Fiery Confluence not really an out here. Alright. 6 damage. I can't think of any outs. Oh, wait. There's more. The Teferi? The Prismatic ending. Yeah. I will be happy to concede here. And this is why I boarded in removal over lock pieces, right? Like, the removal spells allow me to beat the Stoneforge Mystic when that sort of thing occurs. I just need to not mulligan to 4. Alright. This is 2 mana with, like, Punishing Fire and Dead Gone being the reasons that I keep the hand. I think I can do better when I'm on the play. Wow, this hand is also awful. I'm probably keeping it and playing a turn 2 Fable, which is not where I want to be. I think I'm throwing back Wooded Foothills. They don't really want to fetch another... Well, actually, maybe I put Taiga back in my deck. No, if I put Taiga back in my deck to have another fetchable, I just get it out with that. Alright, yeah, so I do put Wooded Foothills back. Yeah, like, only having 3 fetchables is absolutely constraining my lines. Yeah, but I just, like, have not had an objectively powerful opening hand in, like, my last... What? I mulliganed 4, 5 times here between last game and this one. Like, none of these were viable. Alright, I'm going for probably a Ponder here, I guess. Sure. Wow. Cool. Let's attempt to play this Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I'm so dead if this doesn't resolve. Alright, cool. Yeah, I have currently 3 dead cards in my hand, and I don't mean the name of the card, dead. Like, none of these cards do anything unless my opponent plays a Stoneforge Mystic. Which they did. But, like, this is so much worse than having, like, Punishing Fire. Alright, you're a card late. Let's kill the Stoneforge Mystic. But I need a Haymaker. Like, if I don't have a Haymaker, my opponent just plays some 3-mana Planeswalker, or something worse than that, and I will just lose to whatever that is. Yikes. So, this deck seems to be pretty bad against Wasteland and pretty bad against Force of Will. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about, right? So, like, my opponent plays this, gets 2 cards out of this. This card doesn't interact with those. My opponent gets a Teferi off of it. Yep. Oh, it's Simian Spirit Guide. Joy. I'm just gonna cast that without taking damage here. Like, I can take the damage to hold up dead, but that's not gonna matter because my opponent is about to play Teferi anyway, and I don't necessarily want to just telegraph that. Right, no shuffle with Ponder. Now this is gonna be that Teferi, I imagine. Yep. So it'll just bounce Spirit Guide and take that tempo hit for me. I don't like the way that my opponent sequenced their turn. I think that was pretty bad to not just immediately minus on the Narset and use that to sculpt out the turn. Yeah, so I don't think I like this deck. Like, it's very powerful when it works, but I'm pretty vulnerable to disruption. Like, I feel not favored versus blue mid-rangey decks, which are, like, all over the format right now. Yeah. So, like, my opponent has 3 Planeswalkers in play, and I can't really do much about that. Like, I can poke one of these and kill one of those next turn, like, by bouncing the token with Dead Gone, but then my opponent gets the hamster right back. It is a Chrome Mox. I'm going to lose my mind. I think I just concede here. Like, with my opponent having Minsc Boo, even if I take out, like, that hamster token for a little while, like, Batterskull is coming, followed by Kaldra a few turns later. I think this one has tipped in favor of my opponent. Like, both of my opening hands let me down here. I mulliganed to 4, and then I kept a pretty bad 6. I don't think it was worth mulliganing again, because, like, I had a reasonable turn 2 play, assuming I could loot away some of the dead guns, but my opponent had the force. Okay, so, I think this is Eddie Zamora, who usually plays humans. If Eddie is playing humans, turn 1 Chalice of the Void is not particularly strong. However, turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Chalice is really good unless he has Cavern of Souls. Do I keep this hand? Like, what is my plan versus humans? I would rather just resolve one of these cards. I think since I am, like, very, very certain that my opponent will be playing humans, I mulligan this hand. I would keep this versus an unknown opponent. I keep this pitch Chalice, play turn 2 Minsc Boo, and, like, Fury gets involved at some stage to wipe out a bunch of humans. I'm good with that. Alright, land go. Do your thing. Plains Mom. Plains Champion of the Parish. That's fine. Another Minsc Boo. Fantastic. I think I'll just grab both basics here. God, these fucking 3 lands. So rough, because if I draw a Prismatic Vista, then it's not actually a mana source. But I really don't want to get Wastelanded, and I know my opponent's deck plays Wasteland. Alright, there's a Minsc Boo. Yes. I can actually just sacrifice here and kill the champion right now. I'm into it. Kill the champion, draw a card. Chalice isn't particularly good. That's fine. Okay, yeah, so the double Cavern hand wouldn't, or sorry, the double Chalice of the Void hand wouldn't have worked out well versus what my opponent has over there. Yeah, fuck this mana base. Oh my god. Alright. So it's always plus on the hamster. I don't think I play Fury this turn. I also don't think I make the land drop. I'll leave the hamster back. Yeah, this... I feel like my deck has really neat ideas going on. I'm just not the... I don't know this card. When it enters the battlefield or attacks up to 1... Exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Oven, choose a color, gets hexproof from that color until end of turn. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Sure. That's fine. Alright, cool. I will not use this ability. I think I have Fury pitching Minsc Boo. This is just a very, very strong play. 1 on Thalia, 3 on Sun Gold Sentinel. Lose the Fury. Plus on Boo. I guess I can play Chalice on 1 specifically because of my opponent drawing an Aether Vial. Or if they do have Swords to Plowshares in their build, which they might because they look white heavy rather than rainbow heavy. But I can also just do like a draw 7 with Minsc Boo next turn, which is a pretty stupid thing to be able to say. Alright, let's board in a lot of removal spells. All these are coming in. My Chalices and my Trinispheres are coming out for those, for sure. My Blood Moons aren't super good, but they allow me to have more mana, and I'll probably board in 1 Magus of the Moon to round out my deck list. So my hand plays a turn 2 Caves of Chaos Adventurer, and then has Punishing Fire to back it up. The Punishing Fire in some worlds gets slowed down. I think this is okay. I think the game that I'm on the draw is a little tough, though. It's possible I'm just supposed to mulligan to like a Fury or a Fiery Confluence or equivalent because they are so strong in the matchup. Yeah. A Fable. Fable is not castable on turn 1 despite me having the 3 mana. I'm just going to go ahead and play Vista and pass. There's some worlds where I fetch and kill Champion of the Parish in response to a second trigger this turn. And then just play Fable of the Mirror Breaker as like my primary play for turn. Another champion is fine. That grows this to a 2/2. Yeah, that's annoying. So if I Punishing Fire this, I cannot Grove it back and then kill my opponent's creatures that are on board. I think killing the mom is more important here. Yeah, I think killing the mom is more important. I think that is worth the Spirit Guide here. Yeah, my opponent had the triple 1-drop hand, which makes life very awkward for me. These are very potentially out of range of Punishing Fire as of next turn, so I think I'm just going to take the 2/2 that's on board now. Yeah, that's very good. Oh no, there's a follow-up creature. So Thalia means that this token no longer trades in combat, and it also means that the token can't profitably attack, so I think I'm just taking half of my life total this turn. Yes, I will use this ability. I have to loot 2. Minsc Boo is probably not great right now. Ancient Tomb's probably not great given my life total, and I think I'm comfortable conceding at this point. Yeah, I knew the game where I was on the draw was going to be tough. I will be submitting the same deck here. But, like, the difference is that when I'm on the play, I can be the beatdown, and I can also be a better control deck. So, like, my rolls are just so much better when I am on the play. This hand does nothing. Like, a turn 2 Blood Moon is not particularly good here. Let's mulligan and ship this. Wow. I can keep Pitch Blood Moon, and then any colored card allows me to play Minsc Boo on turn 2. Or I can go to 5. If I keep 2 Chrome Moxen, like, I'm so all in on this card, it's ridiculous. And I'll lose to a Caracas. What percentage of the time do I miss? None of these are in the deck. I've got counting these as hits because they are other cards. Yeah, that's so many hits, especially considering 1 Chrome Mox is in my hand. But I don't know that this is actually good. Like, a reasonable 5-card hand with a couple of removal spells is probably safer than this. I'm going to mulligan again. That is awful. On 5, I am keeping this. I am throwing away probably 2 Spirit Guides. And I just really hope that Fable gets me there. Maybe I throw away the Dead Gone. And hope use Fiery Confluence as a sweeper. Keeping 1 mana accelerant. Sure, I buy that. But this is not good. I feel like on average, my opening hands should be better than these opening hands that I'm getting. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but yes, I will use Fable of the Mirror Breaker's ability. I don't think I need to, like, immediately destroy that Aether Vial before the game is over or anything. I think I'm going to get rid of these mana cards, assuming I get some number of mana cards to replace them. Alright. That gets me some more mana. Fiery Confluence is on the table. I think I try to sandbag that for a little while longer and just get another Fable going. Like, that gives me more creatures on board. And then next turn, there's a lot of worlds where I can just Fiery Confluence for 1 while blowing up Aether Vial and whatever card that my opponent opted to play in this turn cycle. Alright, I was not expecting a protection from red card. That was not on the menu. So I'm definitely discarding Prismatic Vista, and now it's just like, do I want Fiery Confluence or do I want a threat? I think I want a threat. Fire Confluence is really good though. Let's just discard Vista. Ooh, Punishing Fire is quite good. I think this is worth doing here. 1 damage to each creature, destroy target artifact, 2 damage to each opponent. I'm good with that. Destroy target artifact. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this keeps my opponent from putting in like a Champion of the Parish or whatever. So Punishing Fire means I can keep my opponent's smaller creatures in check. And at some amount of small life cost to myself, I can keep their creatures in check. I can also, like, Reflection of Kiki Jiki, like, send in with Goblin Shamans pretty safely. Thalia's Lieutenant is annoying, but not the end of the world. Alright. I think I'm interested in destroying that. Alright, so that creature's dead. We got 1 extra mana. I will use that to make another one of these, I think. Believe I am interested in sending those in for tokens, because that allows me to play Punishing Fire or whatever without really taking damage. So I'm good with this. There's also a cute little trick here where at my opponent's end step, I can make a bunch of copies of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, like 1 for each mana that I have, and then I can kill my opponent the following turn. Alright, that's annoying. So, in response to that, I just nuke this creature, I think. Goodbye, Extraction Specialist. Does unfortunately become a 4/4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. At my opponent's end step, I can make 5 copies of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, because they go away at the beginning of the next end step. And then I should be able to just kill my opponent. I can also kill Thalia's Lieutenant if at any point I need to do that. There's a Champion of the Parish, which grows Thalia's Lieutenant. Sanctum Prelate occurs. So if I make 5 copies of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, 4 of them get blocked. I get in for 8 damage. Not particularly great. Go ahead and fetch. I think I'll grab the Mountain. Am I crazy? I thought I had a Punishing Fire in my graveyard. Oh shit, Sanctifier Invac. Okay. Forgot about the other side of that card, or the other portion of that card, rather. So now my opponent names 4 with this, I think. Possible they name a different number for removal spells, but yeah, that's kind of where I thought that was going. See if anything happens in combat. Alright, I am taking 4 damage here. There's nothing that I can do about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this my shot? Like, am I taking this shot? I think I'm taking this shot. Alright. Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. We'll copy Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. And we will repeat this process a couple of times. Actually, for the last one, I guess I should copy the Goblin Shaman. I can't copy it again after that. That sounds good. Now I just need a little... Oh my god. So... I am 1 mana short of obliterating my opponent's board. So I should hold back... I'm going to have 6 mana post-combat. How do I not die to this Sanctifier Invac? 10 damage here. I can't tap Ancient Tomb? Fuck. Yeah, I needed to make 1 less copy of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki to play towards Fury. Yeah, pro black and red, very good here. I'm going to send in everything and hope that this somehow works out in my favor in a way that I'm not currently seeing. This is a 3/3, so it's not going to die here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Alright. So I have to play this, because I'm dead on board already. So I will do this in the way that allows my opponent to make a mistake. There's 2 damage to both of those. And I'm dead on board to this thing attacking. Yes. These things will leave play. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Yeah, I lost this game for not playing towards one of my outs. Yeah, little edges. They matter. GG's. Okay, my hand here is automatically a mulligan. I just do not have enough mana. I have been very unhappy with my opening hands with this deck list. I have had to mulligan so many hands for mana in one direction or another. Opponent is a fan of the old channel. Yeah, this is another mulligan. I'll be going to 5. Oh my god. This is not acceptable. I have 2 mana, and all these cards cost, I think I go to 4. Alright, did not manage to get an acceptable hand after going to 4. I'll be keeping at this point, and I just have to, like, decide which one of these things I want to be the thing that I go all in on. I get to keep my 3 mana sources and 1 card. I think it's turn 2 Blood Moon, rather than turn 1 Chalice of the Void. I have been less excited about turn 1 Chalice of the Void just winning games on the spot. And I think we've paired against a basic land deck that'll have a chance to fetch 2 basics before I Blood Moon. Yikes. Okay. Please just fetch a non-basic. Okay. Not like this, though. Fuck. So we're probably playing against a Storm deck or Doomsday. I will have nothing against my opponent here. No matter which one of my cards I kept, like, the rest would have taken it. I'm gonna play a Grove and pass. I do not expect to get wastelanded after seeing my opponent lead on Underground Sea Duress. And I am fully reliant on drawing Chalice of the Void, Blood Moon, or Trinisphere off the top of my library. Those are probably the only cards that matter in my deck right now. The good news is I know that when I am on the play, like, my thing just resolves. Like, it's just going to. Alright, come on, top deck. Nope. Land go. And this is not how I want these games to look versus a combo deck. I think I am supposed to clown on this deck in game 1. Like, most of the time. Because they're not going to be able to count. God damn it. They are not going to be able to. I guess I want to cast the green one. Anyway, they're not going to be able to counter whatever thing that I play when I'm on the play. So if I keep any hand that can make a turn 1 play, it's just so incredibly strong. In case you're wondering, I did not fire my opponent in case they are Doomsday, and they end up reducing their life total after a Doomsday. Not catch a break in terms of drawing a relevant card. I think my opponent is Storm rather than Doomsday now. Am I fetching a Taiga? Guess I'll fetch a Taiga. Spirit Beats. Force pitching Daze? Okay. So is my opponent just, like, Doomsday and they need the 3rd black mana to, like, cast their relevant spell? Seems like the answer was yes. Alright, yep, there's Doomsday. If my opponent builds a pile that takes 2 turns to play more safely, then there's worlds where I can kill them by top decking like Minsc Boo or something like that. Alright, let's take a quick look here. Alright, so there's a couple dazes. The personal tutor build. Alright, my opponent has gone to 7. Alright, that is an Elvish Spirit Guide. Alright, opponent goes to 5. I am actually not going to cast Spirit Guide here. I'm going to hold up Punishing Fire for in case my opponent does a, like, Street Wraith fetch line, then I can steal a kill. Because I have my opponent dead next turn. Alright, there is a Consider. If they go for a Consider pile, that probably means that I don't get another turn. Alright, they're junking a Street Wraith. Petal's fine. I will Punishing Fire my opponent. This puts them to 3. I will make them gain a life, which puts them to 4. This puts Punishing Fire back into my hand and allows me to kill them. Alright, attack for 2. Opponent goes to 2, and because I've seen cards like Daze, I am just going to go ahead and play Punishing Fire without using any additional mana here. That is a Force of Will. So, I now can return Punishing Fire, but not actually cast it. It is not great for me, because I have the wrong Spirit Guide, which means I need to Blood Moon and hope that Thassa's Oracle is the bottom card. If Thassa's Oracle isn't the bottom card, I lose because they have Lotus Petal in play. That's frustrating. So I think I mulliganed to like 4 and then never drew a true threat all game. Alright. I am interested in Fiery Confluence to kill my opponent after they cast a Doomsday, and I'm interested in Magus of the Moon to try to steal wins. Unfortunately, neither Chalice of the Void nor Trinisphere is particularly good in the matchup. Punishing Fires will come out, Furies will come out, and then I'll board out one other random card. Probably one Finisher. It's possible that 7 Moon Effects is too many, though. I'll buy that. Alright. I would like to play first. This hand is very good. I will keep it. This hand pretty much wins on the spot if my opponent doesn't have Force of Will. Again, mana is a little awkward, though. And, like, I'm going to have a Chrome Mox stranded in my hand. Alright. Chrome Mox. I'll imprint the Caves of Chaos Adventurer. And we will attempt to play the Trinisphere. This is just the Force of Will check. If opponent doesn't have the Force of Will, then like all of my future cards resolve. They can fetch a basic to play around like the Magus of the Moon that I'm about to play. Nope. Okay, cool. So the problem now is that like my opponent is on the draw, or sorry, my opponent is on the play, so I don't get to do that. I think I will lower my curve. I just need to have a turn 1 play versus my opponent full stop. That probably means boarding down one of these 2 cards or 1 Fable. I think I'm going to board down. Now, Minsc Boo is like kind of like haste damage versus Doomsday if I rip that off the top. I'll board down 1 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Like, I'm not willing to go all in on Fable of the Mirror Breaker like I might in some other matchups. Yeah, this is the wrong Spirit Guide, so this hand's not keepable. Like, this is 3 mana on turn 1, but I can't play either of these cards. And my opponent has kept 7. I think I need to just throw this back here. Like, turn 2 Minsc Boo is cool and all, but I think I need a turn 1 play. I need a turn 1 play. How are my hands this bad? How is it possible? I will be keeping 4 of these cards. Doom and Chalice is the turn 1 play that I need. And then I probably keep, like, Simian Spirit Guide Minsc. It's really awkward to keep Minsc, though, because it requires 2 different colors of mana, and I could draw, like, the Mountain or something and not be able to play it. So, like, that Chrome Mox is always going back. I just, like, really can't afford that after bulling to 4. I'm going to keep the Minsc and throw back the land. Oh god, that's right. It's a mult of 4. Maybe I keep the land. Go like 1, 2. I think I just have to trust in the deck to deliver another card. These have been absolutely atrocious draws. Alright, my opponent just has the turn 1 Doomsday. Nothing that I do beats that. Right, like if I play turn 1 Minsc, my opponent just wins on their turn. I've got a way to win, but it's really stupid. And it also requires my opponent to not have a kill next turn. So I want a Spirit Guide as of right now as my draw. So the way that I win is my opponent building a multi-turn pile, and I play Chalice of the Void on 2, and like they don't have Cavern of Souls. Like that's the world where I win, I think. I think I have to play this to represent Red Elemental Blast and pass the turn, maybe, rather than play out the Ancient Tomb. That commits to using the Spirit Guide next turn, though, unfortunately. Alright, there's the Street Wraith. There's the Fetch Land. Alright, yep. Okay, yeah. So, my Chalice on 1 wouldn't have done anything, and this doesn't do anything either. My opponent loses to Red Elemental Blast if they take this line, though. But, you know, that is what it is, and we end up with a very disappointing 1-4 finish. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I would not play this again. This deck was really bad. So I think this deck is bad on 2 fronts. Number 1, like, with 3 fetchable sources and 8 fetch lands, you're super constraining what your mana base is actually capable of doing, and that caused me to trip over my actions multiple times throughout this league. Especially with, like, Caves of Chaos Adventurer giving you, like, and, sorry, I guess I should say, I guess the Undercity giving you the ability to fetch basics out of the deck. Like, if you're not taking that extra card out of the initiative because, like, you fetched them out of your deck already, you're giving up so much value. I think if I were to play this again, I would eliminate the Grove and Punishing Fire aspects of the deck and find some other way to get removal spells into the main deck so that my mana base is actually reasonable. Thing number 2 that I think makes this deck bad is actually Elvish Spirit Guide. While Elvish Spirit Guide is super cute at powering out Trinisphere, Chalice of the Void, and Minsc Boo, it's not the primary red card you need to power out Fable, Blood Moon, and Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So, like, not only is the physical mana base bad, the spirit guides aren't doing what you need them to do in matchups where you need to, like, mulligan to a Blood Moon effect. And I think this makes you just, like, very, very mulligan prone. And I think the mana base just, like, causes you to further mulligan. I don't believe that this deck is anywhere close to as good as, like, the traditional Moon Stompy deck list. And I also don't think that this is a good Minsc Boo deck. Like, this deck is a great example of, like, a deck that is really cool when it does its thing, but I'm so susceptible to Wasteland. I'm so susceptible to Force of Will. I don't like this deck. Like, full stop. Like, it is a cool idea. I thought I was going to like this deck, and then I played the rounds with it, and I was not impressed. Like, against these blue decks that have Wasteland and or Counterspell, I didn't really feel like I was playing Magic. Like, it took a while for me to lose, but I want to prey upon decks that just, like, have no Wasteland and no Force of Will, and I think that's a small enough pool that I'm not excited about this. You know, if you're playing Legacy, you want to have a good matchup versus blue, because, like, blue is absolutely everywhere, and despite having things like Trinisphere and Chalice and Blood Moon that are often traditionally good versus blue, it did not feel like the supporting cast here and the mana base here supported my plan of winning games of Magic. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video despite the fact that I got absolutely wrecked and mulliganed into oblivion. If you did, please click the like button. It helps out a lot. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!